looking at the Warriors, I just said sneaking in for the Rockets. Currently, the Warriors are slated in to be the 10th seed, and the Lakers are the ninth seed, I believe. Um, it's like they're destined to play each other right now. Are the Warriors going to keep and hold on to that play-in spot? And if they do, can they make any sort of run?
They cannot. They're done.
Yeah.
They're just they shouldn't have won last year. They shouldn't have gotten out of the first round series. They ran into a De'Aaron Fox breaks his thumb in the first round
Yeah.
and has to play the last 3 games, and Steph Curry had to go nuclear in Game 7 for them to win.
Yep.
So it just shouldn't have happened. And then the Lakers shut them down, and they haven't been good this year. When they have been, Steph's gone nuclear. He's still that player that can do that from time to time, but he can't do it every single night. He's starting to enter into the LeBron James era of his career, I think, where you can't put everything on his shoulders. Clay's come
Yep.
off the bench. Clay's started. It's weird. Sometimes he goes off, sometimes he doesn't. Andrew Wiggins has completely disappeared. Jonathan Kuminga is emerging as a star, but he had his drama with Steve Kerr earlier this season. It's just really, I
Yeah.
think it's just really a rudderless ship right now. I don't think they have a direction that they want to go with their rotations or their offense. I think every night it's just a let's throw it all and see what sticks. Obviously, when you have Steph, you can do stuff like that. They all play off of him. But when the physicality in the playoffs ramps up and there's not another person to take the focus off of Steph, I just, Chris Paul is not, I think we all kind of scratched our heads at that trade at the beginning of the season. Obviously, he missed a lot of
Yeah,
time
for
this
sure.
year. And it's just Kaminga's game. If Kaminga shoots a three, you're happy. His mid-range game, he's not as efficient at it as a Jason Tatum or DeMar DeRozan, so you're not as
Right.
afraid of it. And once the basketball just ramps up physicality-wise, I don't know how effective Kaminga is going to be. I don't see them making it out of the play-in. Maybe they can. I definitely don't see them winning a first-round playoff series. The West is just way too competitive right now. Obviously, all injury concerns aside.
Yeah, I think that when you look at one of the most basic concepts, you know, in the NBA is starting out game strong, establishing your base concepts on both ends of the floor. Um, but the Warriors are a slow start team, and they can't always put it together. And I feel like the Warriors really missed out on their chance with some of the high draft picks that they ended up acquiring, and those things not working out for them. They, like the Wiseman draft, that sort of stuff, it did not work out for them. I've never felt, even in some of their championship teams, their bench depth wasn't really that deep. You're really relying a lot on Draymond and Clay and Steph and Andrew Wiggins in 2022, and you're relying on a lot on those top. And they're such a top heavy team, and I've always felt like that. They were never super deep team, and I think that they've missed that opportunity with the young players, and I think that's really biting them now in the future when Steph can't take all the load. Clay is on the bench; he's on the bench now, and Draymond shooting very efficient, like 41% from three this season. But his off the court antics are obviously very distracting. But Dre is still Dre at the end of the day. He's just not as he doesn't chuck up as many threes. He's just a little bit more efficient with it. So I think they missed their opportunity to kind of, excuse me, surround Steph, and I think it's hurting them at this point.
I think it also it's just weird that they are not a team that gets the high level talent on the cheap. Every year the
Yeah,
Lakers reload with players at the trade deadline and things like that, and it's just like I think that their luxury tax issues and their salary cap issues and how much money they've spent has really kind of bit them in the butt the past 2 years. Just because of
yeah,
you look at a player like a Spencer Dinwiddie who was bought out after the trade deadline and he was free to go anywhere. And that's got to be a
yep,
player that the Warriors got to be able to land. That's got to be a player. You don't expect him to go to the Kings. He's not going to go to Minnesota. He wants to go to LA or
yep,
San Francisco or places like that where he wants to live. I get it, but the Warriors weren't even in the running for something like that because of the luxury tax issues. So
yep,
it's just one of those things. I think they got to blow it up at the end of the year. I just think it is what it is. Move on from
yeah,
Clay for whatever you can. If you can get a bag of Doritos for him, do it. Chris Paul, you got to move him. Andrew Wiggins, he was so good for them for a couple of
yep,
years, and now he's just fallen off. whatever you can do, whatever pieces you can bring back. I know they don't want to do it because they're never going to trade Steph, and Steph's probably not going to force
Yeah,
his way out. But you just,
you're
you
right.
know, the, LeBron will trade away every single Lakers first round pick for the next 30 years if he can to try to win the championship the next 2 years because he ain't going to be there. So he doesn't care. Steph
Yep,
isn't going to be there in a couple of years. You have to start thinking about what's coming next and building. And you can't do Wiseman. You can't do Moses Moody. You can't do Jordan Poole. You have to find players that make sense to the
yep,
next era of what you're going to be.
absolutely. And staying with the West once again, this one should be pretty quick. The Nuggets have 34 clutch games this year. They one of the teams that end up having the most in the NBA currently. Are they relying a little bit too much on those clutch games? Are they keeping the games a little bit too close? Will it translate well to the playoffs where you have a little bit more highly competitive basketball? Are you concerned about the Nuggets at all with some of the clutch game stuff?
Coming from a Nuggets team that I've watched the Kings beat multiple times this year, I'm not worried about them at all. They won the championship, and now they're kind of just drifting through the regular season in a way that they can. I'm not worried
Yeah,
about it. Um, Jamal Murray's awesome. Obviously, we know
yeah,
about Joker, Michael Porter Jr., who fell in the draft because of injury concerns, and that's turned out to be a real thing in his career. But when he's on, he's on. They have a ton
yeah,
of they
definitely.
have a ton of good pieces. They have an awesome head coach. I'm not worried about any of it. And the problem with it is for other teams in the West is the inexperience, man. The Kings
Yeah,
lost last
yeah,
year because
definitely.
they did not have playoff experience. They weren't ready for it. Domantas Sabonis was getting destroyed with the physicality, and he was unprepared for it. Teams like this foul grifting, this baiting the ref crap that Shy does. I used to love Shy. But just he's looking for the foul on every play. It doesn't play in the playoffs. It's not going to work
Yeah.
for them. And to me that rules OKC out. Karl Anthony Towns is hurt, and I don't know what his availability looks like and how easy it's going to be for a big man to come back from a meniscus injury. We already talked about the Clippers and their downward trial. We don't know who's going to make it out of the play-in. So realistically, you're talking about the Nuggets and you're talking about the Pelicans. And the Pelicans are doing great, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be worried about the Nuggets getting to the NBA Finals if it was against coming up against the Pelicans. I know the clutch things is weird, but I think it just more speaks to a team that knows they can win and knows they can win when they need to. And it's just one of those things where they kind of are lackadaisical and then they try to turn it on in the fourth. And it's led to some losses this year, but it's also led to some wins.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not super concerned about them either. I want to hear what your opinion before I read off some of the stuff. Their 12th best offense turns into 10th best, and then their 11th ranked defense turns into the best defense in the league when you get into the clutch time situation. So, and then you need crazy ass shit like a Kyrie Irving 20 feet left-handed skyhook while he's fasting on Ramadan. So to be able to beat him. So it's I'm not super concerned about him either. Um, I will be concerned once we get to that to the finals.